Let's start the thing. Basically, with the recent videos that we've been covering, we were talking about the fact that League of Legends is dying. I'm fine with that, with the idea that as long as Riot is focusing on League's MMO, I'm fine with that. Let League die. This game should have been dead 10 years ago. It's still alive, God knows how. But it is what it is. As far as I'm concerned, if you are focusing on MMO, I'm absolutely fine with that. But you see, Necrit released a video, Riot's MMO lost lead developer. So that's kinda sad, bro. The amounts of copium I was on believing that MMO is going to be good has me slightly worried. So let's see what Necrit is covering in this video.
A video about a single tweet. Well, sometimes people get to make videos about a single image. Something I have done in the past too. So, Ghostcrawler, one of the lead people at Riot's MMO, announced that he will be stepping down.
Anyone but Ghostcrawler, bro.
Which, in the eyes of all those who saw it, meant... Is Riot's MMO dead? Is it
Yes.
gone? Is
Yes.
the MMO genre dead with no way of return? No.
Yes.
We're fine.
Are we though?
Things are looking kinda bright. Which is why I wanted to talk about this.
How is it? Let's just explain it to me. Good guy Necrit, explain it to me. How is it that everything is looking good when we lost the lead developer?
Throughout the entire speculative MMO journey, Ghostcrawler was always in the front lines.
Yes.
He was the one everyone wanted to talk to when it came down to Riot MMO updates. Despite the fact that Ghostcrawler himself mentioned many times that he is absolutely not the only guy working on the MMO.
It doesn't matter, bro. You're a Ghostcrawler, you know? You came from Warcraft scene. You managed to develop Warcraft, which were some good times in Warcraft. Sure, people were memeing on you for obvious reasons, because let's just say there was experimental era. Then my guy decided to move to Riot. Riot got him. And Riot, as far as I'm concerned, he was behind the scenes and responsible for champion creations, and some of those champions were straight up amazing. We're talking about Azir, I want to say Ekon, we had another champion that was maybe even Pyke. But basically those years when he was president, bro, we were getting amazing champions. Not questionable Disney plus characters we're getting right now, but it is what it is.
But he just happened to be the most visible one. Because he's the one who tweeted about it first. And because he has quite a good history with MMOs as well as other games, a lot of people grew a lot of confidence in the entire project.
Yes.
Is this a healthy thing to do? Well, don't ask me, I made 5 videos about a game that isn't even announced.
And as far as I'm concerned, we did reaction on maybe like 4 of them.
But some people remain skeptical, as they probably should with all the recent MMO releases. Anyway, because we are going to talk about what all the news around Ghostcrawler means for the MMO, we should probably start with what Ghostcrawler did in the past. Even though most people will remember him from the golden days of WoW, Ghostcrawler...
Yes. Lich King is straight up the peak of Warcraft. When it comes down to World of Warcraft, Lich King expansion, which was the second expansion, was the peak. The golden era. This is why people are massively playing the World of Warcraft Classic, which has the Lich King expansion right now.
Ghostcrawler actually started his game development journey working on the Age of Empires series.
Nice.
Together with StarCraft, this franchise became somewhat of a godfather to the strategy game genre. And if you have no idea what these games even are...
Yeah, if you don't know what are these games, Age of Empires, StarCraft, and Stronghold. Chat, I remember there was a Stronghold. Let's just say we cannot be friends. You're way too young for us.
Don't worry about it. After Ghostcrawler joined Blizzard, he got to work on World of Warcraft, where he became the lead system designer during Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm. And perhaps this is why Ghostcrawler's dev abilities were so highly regarded. Being the lead system designer, his job was to run numbers on gear acquisition, progression systems, currencies, stuff like that. So while he didn't necessarily work on how the game felt when being played or any of the aesthetics, he did build the systems that made the game function well.
But what do you mean? No, I'll have to disagree with Necrit on this one. Even though he said that he didn't work on how the game felt, but bro, if you're developing a good system, I feel good. Because system works. If a system is buggy, if system, let's say, kills me for no apparent reason, kills my character in the game, you know? I feel kinda disappointed, I feel kinda frustrated. So technically, I guess there's a correlation between the system and how the player feels about it.
In other words, he helped with the core gameplay loops. The thing is, Wrath of the Lich King and to a certain degree Cataclysm 2 were the peak of WoW's stable player base.
Yes, Cataclysm, the beginning of Cataclysm was peak, then I mean Firelands, yeah. Or what was the first expansion? Not the expansion, the first raid tier. Was it Firelands? No, Firelands was 4.2. What was the 4.1? Passion of Twilight? Anyway, all I'm saying is the beginning was good and then it went slightly downhill.
And that's because both expansions excelled at their own expertise. That's a word, people.
Yeah, we also had this system which was straight up cringe. Basically, you have stats and you can change the secondary stat that is not very useful for you to something that you need. So in this scenario, you have a haste rating, which means you are doing stuff faster, you're killing that, and you are getting hit rating. So basically, we will not miss your abilities. We will not miss your auto attacks. Yeah, that was sad.
Love to see. Besides the awesome setting, Wrath of the Lich King kinda became famous for its great progression. Not only was leveling an improvement over the previous expansions,
yeah, the leveling was straight up amazing because we had a coherent storyline. Also, Wrath of the Lich King was goated because the main villain was Arthas the Lich King. Yeah, Wrath of the Lich King, yeah, we're connecting the dots here. Lich King had a story that was written 15 years ago, before the Lich King was released. Well, maybe 10 years. But you get the idea, bro. Players knew about the Lich King since Warcraft 3, the Frozen Throne. I mean, in the Reigns of Chaos he was already slightly mentioned, but then in the Frozen Throne, that was one of the most biggest games developed by Blizzard at the time. It was hype. And now, all this time later, we get to venture into the real world, yeah, into the actual world with other players, and we get to take down that Lich King. Like, bro, everything was perfect. It was straight up a perfect storm for a game.
But gear acquisition felt great with the upgraded badge system, even though some people found it confusing.
At the beginning,
Blizzard also started adding in new catch-up mechanics for new players without undermining the efforts of the previous veterans. And as the expansion rolled out, they started adding in more transformative content. Not to mention, at the time, raiding was at its best possible shape.
This is the exact reason why we are raiding twice a week. Well, actually 3 times a week. 2 times we're covering Ulduar 25 as we see right now. This is straight up Ulduar 25 man. We're doing that 2 nights, and then we are doing a single 10-man run that's taking only 1 day. So yeah, we're literally living in the best era in Warcraft right now, as far as we're well, reliving it, because to be living that you should have done that in 2008, 2009.
With Ulduar and Icecrown Citadel becoming some of the most memorable raids in WoW's history.
Yes.
Of course, throughout all of this, keep in mind that I'm talking about the original version from 2008. The modern classic version of the game taught us that, yeah, it was definitely made for the audience back then.
Yes, and the server discrepancy, what we're looking at here is the current server discrepancy. So basically, in Warcraft we have 2 factions, basically considered as a good guys, or you can play as a bad guys. In Jedi, look, you have Jedi, you have the Sith, you know, choose one. Lord of the Rings, you have the elves and you have the orcs, you know, the fighting sides. So in here we have exactly the same. In Warcraft you have Alliance and the Horde. Blue ones are the Alliance, red ones are the Horde. So yeah, let's just say the server balance was a bit of an issue for Blizzard to manage.
But we'll talk about that in just a moment. After this, there was Cataclysm. While Cataclysm became the first ever WoW expansion that started losing subscriptions. To a big degree, it was because there was an MMO burnout, and the fact that Wrath of the Lich King ended a storyline which a lot of Warcraft fans loved.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about, bro. It was 15, maybe 10 years, more than 10 years, bro. We had the main story. Also, Cataclysm, I mean, yeah, they did change the world. The leveling world which you've been playing for the past 7 years. The classic leveling zones, the starting zones, they changed. For the most part, they changed absolutely everything. So the starting zones where you would level up from level 1 to level 60, that stuff was changed. So that was a bit good. But where they failed was to familiarize the player base with the boss, with the main villain of the expansion, which was Deathwing, with the big flying dragon. And Lich King, everyone knew Lich King. That's, you show a picture of Lich King, everyone says, oh, well, yeah, brother, that is Lich King. Everyone knows Lich King. You show a picture of Deathwing, well, big bad dragon. Why is he big? Why is he bad? Why is he evil right now, you know? No one knew about that because what Blizzard did is they released a book. I don't remember the name of the book because I didn't read it, but basically there was released a book, something with the aspects. Well, basically the entire story why this dragon is evil is in the book, which didn't come with the expansion. You just had to buy a book separately to understand what the fuck is going on. So yeah, let's just say that's one of the reasons that Cataclysm did not perform as good as Lich King.
So after it was over, people kinda lost interest in the story.
Yep.
And still, Cataclysm thrived in a new and interesting way. While PvP has always been fine in WoW,
Questionable.
with a pinch of memes on the side, many people regarded PvP in Cataclysm as the best it had ever been. So even though the entire expansion spiraled down a bit, the WoW community had a blast.
Yeah, in the beginning, until 4.2 expansion patch. Because everything was broken. Straight up, everything was borderline broken. I can tell you that because I'm telling that from experience. I was playing Blood Death Knight. In Arena, 2v2, it doesn't matter, I could have 1v2 that. Ideal. I hit like a truck and I am immortal. Straight up, I was lore accurate Aatrox in World of Warcraft. And then after 4.2, they nerfed everything.
It was around this time when Ghostcrawler really started being known in the WoW community. Even though the first time he started surfacing was actually during the beta of Wrath of the Lich King. Anyway, not only was he memed on for always buffing mages and always leaving paladins in the dirt, which, unfortunately, to an extent, balancing classes was also part of his job, but during Cataclysm he became a rare spawn,
Nice.
and whenever Blizzard's clients didn't work, a little Ghostcrawler appeared as a substitute for Clippy. If you don't know who Clippy is,
Leave the chat right now. In the beginning, we had the games, yeah. We had Age of Empires, we had Stronghold Crusader, we had StarCraft. If you don't know those games, you are too young to be in this chat. If you don't know who Clippy is, same story, because at the end of the day, my YouTube videos are 18 plus for mature audiences, not YouTube kids. My Twitch also stream itself 18 plus. If you don't know who Clippy is, you're not 18. Don't lie. I know it, you know it, everyone knows it.
don't worry about it. Now, since Ghostcrawler was involved in both of these high points in WoW's history, his reputation only grew. Which is probably why, after he left Blizzard in 2013, he was quickly snatched up by Riot in 2014, where he has been for 9 years. This is a crazy revelation for a lot of people. Yeah.
It's been 9 years. Yeah, it's kinda crazy to think about, bro. Time flies, no? Time to be flying when your life is falling apart. Hey, it is what it is.
Yes, Ghostcrawler has been working on League for about 4 years. From 2014 to 2018.
Yep.
For context, for all the League players, this was the absolute pinnacle of new champion designs.
Yes.
With champions such as Braum, as
Oh yeah, Braum. Yeah, I forgot Braum. But we also have to realize that back then we didn't have a lot of champions, so designing a new champion and making it unique and making it amazing was rather easy task to do. Let's just say the barrier of entry for new amazing champions was rather low, because right now we have 162 champions, and if you create a new champion, realistically, bro, you will be yoinking abilities from different champions. You'll be combining a dash, sure, you take it from Fiora. Sustain, sure, you take it from Soraka. You want ultimate, you want global ultimate, you take Ezreal. You know, that's the champion. Rather difficult to come up with a new champion design that feels innovative and amazing. Back then, Braum, Azir, who else?
Azir, Echo, Kindred, Jhin,
Oh, Kindred and Jhin, yeah, straight up the perfect champions.
or even Pyke coming out during this time frame.
Yeah.
Throughout this time period, he was the lead game designer. After which, from 2018 to 2021, he became the head of the creative development. A role that is very important, which is why I am talking about all of this in the first place. The head of creative development is not a role that directly steered League's direction. I believe he mentioned it himself that he would be no longer working on League of Legends. Instead, he would make sure that the teams working on Riot's products would have the best developers in them. And as a result, he helped League grow from the background. This is exactly the role Ghostcrawler had on the MMO.
Basically, the general assembling his army, making sure his troops are the best, and his army has the best tools to perform. Okay, Edge. Kinda tough job, because you are responsible for getting new people that actually can get the job done properly.
During the early stages of the MMO, he helped put the idea of the entire game together, he helped concept the core backbone mechanics, but most importantly, he helped put together the right team of developers. And he gave them the right direction in order for the MMO to succeed.
Like, yeah, straight up, now that I think about it, getting the right team of developers. Best of luck, bro. Getting the right team in the first place is already incredible. It's incredibly difficult. But to create a universe, create the back of the MMO itself, and then get the developers, yeah.
This is something he mentioned in the past, especially in his tweets where he mentions that the team is stacked full of amazing devs. And even during his announcement of leaving Riot, he still remained confident that the current team working on the MMO is great. Which finally brings us back to the question everyone is asking.
When he's leaving, he's saying everything is great. Yeah, but on the other hand, bro, you cannot say that they're bad now, can you? It was your job to assemble that team. So you cannot say officially, publicly, that, hey guys, I fucked up at my job, MMO is doomed, the team is horrible, everyone is dying, there is no happy ending. Hashtag trust in Riot. And I'm resigning, by the way. I mean, if you said something like that, I don't think that community would have a lot of faith in Riot's MMO.
Is Ghostcrawler leaving Riot a bad sign for the MMO?
Maybe?
No. Just like every video game, the MMO will be primarily judged based on gameplay, and it will go down to the game designers and the engineers to pull it off successfully. Ghostcrawler's job was to simply nudge them in the right direction, which, to be fair, may raise a question. Is it going to be the right direction? If classic WoW taught us anything, it's that the old MMO design doesn't work with modern gaming. In the past, a lot of MMOs failed for never innovating on the base MMO formula.
Yeah, we had the basic formula and everyone worked on that. It was quite simple. But it was good for that time. We're looking at 2004. You might be thinking, oh my god, what the fuck is 2004? Well, 2004 was 19 years ago. So, you know, it was some time ago. So yeah, let's just say the system was old. But for the time, it was amazing. If you implement the system right now, it's kinda sussy to say the least.
And funnily enough, WoW itself proved it. During WoW's classic reruns, a lot of the things that people loved in the past were definitely not praised in the modern era. And I believe that's for one simple reason.
Because the players that were playing the classic WoW release were the casual players who never tried vanilla WoW, which is literally the first WoW that was ever released. And let's just say they weren't ready for the difficulties that will be brought up with that vanilla, with that classic WoW. Because everyone nowadays wants to have it easy. Because, you know, that's the idea of gaming, to make it easy, to make it relaxing, to make it, you know, makes you forget the life that you're running away from. So this is why addiction to video games is a huge problem. But it is what it is. And we have the easy games, you know, we have the straight up easy games and the fast games. Plus, WoW itself wasn't an easy game. Let's just say WoW wasn't an easy game to understand. The learning curve was steep, to say the least. The same we have in MOBAs, League of Legends, Dota. So, you know, for casual, if we are targeting the casual player, it will be slightly difficult to hook that new casual player to play the classic WoW, and it's slightly difficult as a game itself.
Old MMO formula simply doesn't work as well anymore. Old MMO designs assumed that you would set aside 4 hours of uninterrupted raid nights. Not only did this work because the
This is straight up what we're doing. We're doing that on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and maybe on Sundays, the third day. But officially, we're doing it on Wednesday and Thursday. 4 hours minimum. That's what we do. Yeah, technically, it is old format. And I'm going back to the idea that, bro, in order to reach those 4 hours a night, you have to understand how the game works. But if you don't have that time, you're focusing on something that is faster. We're focusing on straight up quick games. Plus, we have to take into consideration that attention span is falling from the cliff. The current attention span is straight up seconds. So, bro, imagine trying to convince a player to focus for 4 hours straight and to perform his duty well in the raid group, where individual responsibility is the thing. So, if you fuck up in those 4 hours because you are tired or you're not focused, you waste the time of everyone in there. So, yeah.
The old school communities rode off of the idea of getting together RPG sessions, but also simply being online was a novel idea. These days, meeting people online is nothing exciting, nor is set nothing exciting.
League of Legends, Valorant, voice chat. Look at what they need to mimic a fraction of our toxicity. Riot! Same company. I'm just saying, bro, same company. What if we add voice chat to League? You know? What if we can have it in a proximity voice line like we have, I feel like it's Call of Duty. I feel like it's those shooter games, you know? Where you kill a person and if you are near his body, you can talk, he can talk to you. What do we have this? Riot, it's going to be good, it's going to save the game. Riot, think about it.
Exciting. nor is setting aside specific hours a week to play. People prefer games where you can get quick 30-minute sessions at a time, which could be one of the reasons why MOBAs exploded right after MMOs. It was a natural evolution of multiplayer time commitment. Not only that, but slowly people started treating MMOs as single-player RPGs with a shared world.
Plus, we have to take into consideration the fact that MMOs were kinda old at that time, kinda boring. Well, not boring, kinda at the end of their lifespan, because bro, we've done MMOs at this point where MOBAs got released. We've done MMOs for quite some time, so you know we want something new that's going to be interesting as well.
Again, this has a lot to do with the aging audience, and people not having enough time to set aside for raids. And these days, even Retail WoW is doing this. They embrace the fact that casual players are the majority of their audience now, which is why the new trading post became such a success.
I've heard about it, I have no idea what it is.
And all of this makes me wonder, how will Riot tackle this problem? Will they make an old-school MMO like what is Ashes of Creation trying to do? Or will they give it a new spin? Essentially creating a single-player RPG with a shared world and multiplayer instances. That's something that still remains to be seen. And that's something...
What are the alternatives though? I mean, follow the classic recipe, sure, but... And we know the classic recipe works, not as great as it used to, but we know it still works. Now that's the real question, what will Riot do?
Which we don't know how much Ghostcrawler affected. Especially since he was focused more on building up the entire department. Which is why Ghostcrawler stepping down is not really a red flag. Now, I'm not saying that his position would be meaningless if he stayed on the team. A good leadership is often a key to a good game. But it definitely feels like he kinda fulfilled his purpose on this project. And from...
I'm getting a bit of copium right now, because that's it, his job is done. Which means he assembled a team. That was the first step of building the MMO, assemble a good team. So he's done that, which means we're going for step 2. Actually assembling the game, actually creating the game right now.
From what he said in his tweets, it seems like he is really satisfied with what he did.
But also, once again, bro, you cannot say anything negative, because in that scenario, bro, the trust and faith in the new MMO is going to fall if you say something negative.
Which he followed by mentioning that the MMO is in good hands. And that it felt like the right time to hand over the reins for the next phase. Of course, it wouldn't...
The MMO is in good hands and it's the right time to hand over the reins for the next phase. Yeah, copium, back on copium. Maybe we're actually developing the game right now. Because step 1 was actually getting the team. Now we have the team, now we're creating the game. I plan to stay in game development and I have had a number of exciting opportunities presented to me already, and I will be with you all playing Riot MMO when it comes out. Nice.
Be me if I didn't make a mountain out of a molehill. So now I wonder, does the next phase mean that we left the concept phase? Are we heading into actual production now?
Yes, what other phases are there? You cannot alpha test, you cannot beta test because there's nothing to test. You have to create something to test.
Anyway, the key thing to focus on is that, as Ghostcrawler mentioned, there are some really good devs working on the MMO now. Not too many of them were confirmed. But for example, we know that the MMO's narrative side is in the hands of Anthony Reynolds.
Reynolds, isn't this the guy who created a good chunk of Riot's lore? No? I feel like it's the guy.
Who previously wrote essential key parts of the universe.
Yeah,
including the massive Ruination book, which...
Oh, so he created... Oh, so he wrote a book as well, okay.
Talks about League's equivalent villain to Arthas Menethil. Viego, which honestly feels like a villain which Riot is saving up for the MMO.
Which would make sense, yeah, because we watched this video, yeah, straight we watched this video, so we remember, yeah. Honestly, look back with the same argument that Warcraft had. Lich King, everyone knows Lich King, we have Viego. But the problem with Viego is that we're not very familiar with Viego. Sure, as a villain, if we present him amazingly in the MMO, we should be Gucci, because Lich King had Warcraft 3 working for Lich King. Now we had the entire different game. Sure, we have, which was highly successful. Because right now, I'm not sure that we have any separate games that are hugely successful that actually tell the story of Viego. Sure, there was a Ruination event, sure, there is a minigame. But I feel like it's in Bilgewater, no? Where Ilaoi, Misfortune, everyone is trying to kill to stop Viego. But that game isn't as popular as Warcraft 3 was back in the day. So you know.
But that's something I already talked about in a previous video. In the end, all of this means one crucial thing. Unfortunately, the speculations and talks about the MMO may quiet down. Or at least, more than they already have. Because without another dev being crowned the involuntary well of knowledge, it will be harder to get updates to talk about. But if you know me, you know that has not stopped me from making videos in the past.
True that, plus there are leaks. Plus there's a possibility of leaks. If they leak something, sure, we can talk about it. And that's the video, yeah, the good guy Necrit. So all of the information has been covered. Guess we're still coping? The only thing I got from this video is that MMO will happen. It's not dead yet, you know, because it would have been dead already. But hey, it is what it is. Hashtag copium. And that's the video, boys.